Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight in transitioning from high school to college. My guest today is Natasha Sherman. She's a life success coach, a teacher, a trainer, a speaker, and also the host of Natasha on Princeton TV. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's exciting being on this side of the desk. Woohoo! A little unnerving, but...
So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
So I grew up in Canada, and 100 years ago. And so I went to Teachers College in Canada. And I got a teaching certificate. It's a very different system. And, I taught for a couple of years. And then I got my green card to come here. And I was a little disillusioned with teaching. I loved the children, but I didn't like the system. And so I decided I wanted to explore other things. And, I did start to take courses and going to college and doing, what you needed to do in order. So as an immigrant, so to speak, I had to take American history. I had to take this, that, and the other thing. And I just lost interest in that. I think I wanted more life experience.
Interesting. So tell us, how did you get from college to life success coach today?
It's a long and circuitous journey.
Well, we have plenty of time.
So, when I came here, I got a lot of different jobs. And I started out actually, when I first got my green card, my sister was here and she was working at a resort in the Poconos. So I got a job working there for 6 months, and then I met my future ex-husband. And then I, came back to New York and did a bunch of fun things and got married. And ended up, I was always I love people. I love teaching. I didn't like teaching inside of a system. And that really, I discovered, was my real calling, but I also loved learning. So in that journey, I became really interested in personal development and Eastern philosophy. And ended up, after my husband at the time finished his PhD, we were both exhausted, and I really wanted to go to India. So I was looking for wisdom teachers. So we went to India. It was, again, a long journey. It was supposed to be for 4 months, and we came back 2.5 years later.
Oh, my God.
So we had lived in that part of the world. I lived at a yoga center for almost a year, but it was an extraordinary, extraordinary journey. And then I came back, and we had children, and I became a stay-at-home mom. And then I got divorced. After, it was when the children were, and I had to reinvent myself. So my first job, I worked in a jail. Wow. I had to take anything. It's so interesting. Necessity is the mother of invention. So I did a lot of things, but at some point, and I was always in personal development training. It just was my passion. And somebody I worked with at a company that was in the home fashions industry kept saying to me, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a life coach. She kept saying to me, by nature, you're a life coach. Go get trained so I can hire you.
Wow.
And she said it often enough. Meanwhile, I had become a massage therapist. Again, it's all about people and connecting.
Sure. Yeah.
And so she said it often enough that I thought, let me check this out. And in some of my personal development trainings, I had been coached, but not by an official life coach. And I did check it out, fell in love with it, got trained, have continued training ever since. It's been 15 years, 16 years. And I have my own business. I, work with individuals, I work with groups, I teach, I design workshops. And the best thing about coaching is you can do it in person or by phone.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and interestingly enough, she became my first client, and she weaves back into my life as a client, back and forth. She goes out into her next phase. She sends me clients all the time. And now she's back to being my client again.
Oh, wow.
After 16 years.
Interesting. So let's bring it back into college. Yeah. What is the transition from high school to college for a lot of these students? What would you say they're going to be going through?
It's interesting because I was looking at it, and as I said to you before, when I went away to college, if I look back on it, the word that describes my experience was bewildered. I just kind of felt like stranger in a strange land, Alice in Wonderland. It's like I had no game plan. I kind of just went. And that was a huge lesson. And the thing is, I was thinking, kids going to college, they're like 17, 18 years old. They've only been on the planet for 18 years. They've only been walking for 15, They've only learned to read for 12 or whatever it is. And now they have to make these major life decisions.
Sure.
What I'm going to study, what's my major, what am I going to do the rest of my life? Huge financial investment. And the parents are involved too.
Sure.
So the idea is we're not changing that anytime soon. It's just the way it is. But I think there's a way to make that work so that they don't end up feeling as challenged. I think what happens when I've talked to kids in college is they feel bad a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. They get there and they're confronted by, it's different. They have to manage a lot. They have to manage, nobody's micromanaging them. Nobody's checking on their homework the way it used to be, And they haven't learned a lot of skills. And what happens is they start doubting themselves. Did I make the right choice? Oh my God, all this money. And then they feel bad about feeling bad. Oh my God, all these other people look like they're doing it right and I'm such a loser. And it's like really confronting.
Yeah, sure.
And so one of the things I always tell them is, transition. We go through transitions all the time. Just starting with all the transitions of growing up, but then student to college, college to job, job to marriage, to children, to potentially divorce, to, starting your own business, retiring, moving. Life is a series of transitions.
Yeah.
And most of us kind of just take what's coming at us and deal with it. And sometimes it works, but there's a way to prepare like an Olympic athlete. In order to play better and win bigger, you have to be practicing for years.
Sure.
So for me, I think practice being a college student. Like, what's going to be required of me? And I think this is where the parents have to become engaged. So, and again, I just keep telling students, please, 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 don't feel bad about your doubts. It's called transition. You didn't learn to ride a bike the first time you got on. You fell, you hurt yourself. And don't judge yourself. Don't judge your uncertainty. And we have to be willing to feel uncomfortable. And there's a lot of discomfort.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole idea of, am I popular? Have I got the right friends? And all of that. I was in a training once where they talked about, people stood up and said, I was kind of what I would call in the B group. I never kind of figured out how to get into the A group, the winners, and then the people who were perceived as in the A group said, I never felt like I was in the A group.
Interesting.
So it's all the internal experience. And so if you're going to spend a lot of energy trying to fit into the A group, I want to tell you, the A group doesn't feel like they're the A group, So it's really looking at, how do I succeed? How do I do well?
Yeah.
How do I have fun? And one of the things, and I'm going to jump around a lot because there are some studies done, statistics. I interviewed a psychologist who wrote a book about teenage development in girls, but it applies to boys as well. And she said that statistically, if families have family dinner at least a couple of times a week, those students, even if the family dinner isn't always pleasant, it's kind of this sense of belonging to a tribe and having an identity inside of that. They do better in school, in college, and in life.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Family dinner. So that's one of the simple things, like have family dinner. Have no tech available at family dinner. Spend some time together. And again, we keep thinking it has to be, oh, tra-la, no arguing. No, it's just being part of a family, tribe, community.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. The other thing and there was some other statistic, and I'll get to it because it slipped, but another thing is like practicing being a college student. So it's ahead of time, starting middle school. Like, what are the skills? One of the biggest challenges college students have is time management.
Right.
And there are skills to that. It's a learnable skill. Started in middle school, scheduling, breaking projects down into bite-sized pieces. And again, there's a learning curve.
Right.
But it's like one of the keys to the kingdom, because as you start to schedule, you develop mastery over that. And then you have time to fit in the fun. And, again, there are all kinds of time management systems.
Do you see a difference, being that you were from Canada? Do you see a difference from the schooling that you had in Canada compared to your kids' schooling here in the United States?
Yes, but it was so long ago. And it was also, I was in this small, isolated mining town. My school wasn't like a typical, maybe in Montreal, the kind of schools they had. My school was strictly academics. There were no sports, no art, no music. It was academics.
That was it. And
you were carrying that load. It wasn't like, it was never a semester. It was the year. So at the same time, I had English, oral French, written French, algebra, trigonometry, geometry, physics, history, English lit,
Whoa.
All year, year after year.
Wow, for the 4 years that you go.
Things got added on, like the algebra was introduced maybe in 9th grade, and then trigonometry was in 10th or whatever. And you went home with books like this every night.
So when your kids went to American schools here, what did you see that was different?
It looked a lot less structured. There were, I think, art and athletics are really important, and music,
Sure.
And I think those are really vital. So I really appreciated that. It just looked easier. But I don't think they found it easy. It all depends on perspective.
Sure, right, absolutely. Yeah. So when they went to school, what kind of transition did you see your kids go through when they were in college? Did you see any type of transition?
I kind of floundered at that time. I was just going through the divorce and reinventing myself. And kind of my ex took over the application process, which was entirely great, So it wasn't like we were, oh, you do it. It was kind of, okay, at this stage, you do that. So I wasn't really involved in that. And then when they would come home, I would talk to them, and I even talk to them now, and we have really close relationships, but I think they were a little bewildered.
So that's the big thing, is that it's a very bewildered time for a lot of people.
Yes. And again, it's like one of the things they talk about if you're going away to college, like friendships. And again, statistically, they've proven that the kids who are happiest, it's not the most friends. It's just find one friend.
Yeah.
And again, it's a learning experience. If this friend doesn't work out, you don't have to blame them or you. Move on. Find someone that you resonate with. Join groups that, use all your resources.
Yeah.
Join groups that might have some interest for you. Reach for your resources. Find your favorite coffee shop that nurtures you. Set up your living space so that it's your sanctuary. And again, one of the things I think it's important, and again, parents can be involved in this whole, teaching them or taking courses, and I teach time management. They're involved in enrolling their child in the idea that you're practicing for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Your college is your Olympics. So you, just like any athlete, you don't just show up on the field. If you want to succeed and have a great college experience, you practice now. So the other thing is, kids don't know themselves that well, so it's kind of, in that essay they start to question and whatever, but adults don't know themselves that well. But it's like, go online and take some values assessment courses. Like, what are my top values? What am I going to do when I'm invited to a party and there are drugs? Start having those conversations, even if it's only with your friends.
Yeah.
Talk to people who have graduated and successfully come out of it. Ask them, what were your challenges? How did you deal with it? What should I know? What would you have wished to know? I interviewed this psychologist, stand-up comedian, Matt Bellis, and when he went to college, his brother had some issues with drugs. His brother was older. And you know, when you're watching an older brother with drugs, you have two choices: copy them or go, not me. And he saw, you know, what it did to the family and whatever, and his choice was, not me. So when he went to college, he decided that he was going to start, and he said to his roommate, you know, I'm going to start kind of a group of students where we're going to be committed to having fun, but without any substance. And his roommate said, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, really.
Well, the fact is, he now travels around the country. He's gotten grants because it's very successful. Not everyone wants to do that lifestyle,
Sure.
but they don't see alternatives. Yeah. So if you don't see the alternative, you can start to ask other students, hey.
Do you work with any college kids or high school kids right now going into college?
Not as a group.
Not as
you
a
know,
group.
I have individual clients.
And if you did, what are some of the things that you would tell them to do when going to college?
Yeah, well, part of it is in the preparation. You know, even if you're going to college next year, start preparing and thinking like a college student. What are my challenges? Who can I talk to? Reach out for resources. You know, again, how do I plan it? So, you know, as a coach, I say live by design, not by default. So what that is you have to live with intention. So what that might look like. And again, the parents have to get involved. And the parents are short-circuiting too, because I didn't feel like I had all the skills. And so, again, they can start practicing being the parents of kids in college ahead of time. Hey, let's talk about this. And again, stay open, because if your kid says, well, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like not, you don't know, you know, again, okay, so what is it that you don't know? What would you want? What kind of advice would you seek? You know, even as I interviewed the woman from the New Jersey Coalition, Patricia Teffenhart, New Jersey Coalition Against Sexual Assault, and the whole thing about sexual assault on college campuses.
Sure.
And so you don't want them thinking about that as, my mother used to say, watch out, there are bad people out there. Well, okay, what does watch out mean? What is it I would be doing when I'm watching out, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's really getting down to the nitty gritty. You could even start groups where you sit and discuss possibilities, like what would you do? You know, who would you reach to support for? And it's really, again, designing ahead of time. What's the kind of college experience I want? At the end of my 4 years, what do I want to be saying?
So do you tell them to write down some goals that they want to achieve in those 4 years?
It's more like writing the essay about what I want my college experience to be. So here I am, graduation, and I'm writing about my 4 years. I did well. I was so happy that I reached out for all the resources that were available. I was so happy I worked with a coach, getting me ready. I'm so happy my parents insisted that I learn to time manage. I learned to schedule. I actually had fun, and I managed to stay away from the groups that were going to, you know, kind of maybe lead me astray. You know, we go to college. If you don't have a plan, somebody has a plan for you. And it's like many shiny objects. And which ones do you reach for? It comes from deciding ahead of time.
Yeah, so it's whatever you put into school is what you're going to get out of school.
Yeah, but again, it's really about thinking ahead of time, getting in the game ahead of time.
So do you advise them to get involved in school activities and in the different types of sports or clubs and things like that? Do you
In
advise?
college?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not as, again, it's really a time where you can start to blossom. So you don't want to do the things that you should do, the club that you should belong to. Or, you know, unless of course it's going to help you academically. But it's really what resonates for me. It may look geeky to somebody else, but wow, that's what I want. Sustain your own identity. Create the support system that supports you in blossoming, unfolding, being more of who you are.
So it's difficult for a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. Well, what do you advise these kids to do when they're in high school to go on to college? What kind of advice do you give those type of kids?
Again, learn a time management system. Practice it now. It's not like, you get all the nice gym clothes and you have all the equipment, but you haven't got the muscles.
Yeah.
So practice it now, even in little snippets. Go online, do research, take a course. There are tons of resources out there. Again, work with a coach who's going to coach you to success, even with the parents. And so time management is one of the biggest challenges they have. Feeling lonely, feeling bad about feeling bad is another one. And again, you kind of develop this awareness that feeling bad is part of life. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means that, when you were learning how to walk, you fell a lot and you hurt yourself a lot. But here you are walking, So don't give up just because you feel bad. Feeling bad doesn't mean you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
Be willing to feel bad and then take a look and say, okay, so what do I want right now? What's missing? So I'm missing a sense of belonging.
What are some of the things that kids might be thinking about at that age, 16, 17, 18-year-old?
They're not thinking about a lot. That's the whole thing. I think that's our job as parents. And we're, again, we haven't been trained for the most part. I wasn't. And so it's really, at 16, all your attention is going like, ooh, 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 and so to expect them to kind of, reach for it themselves is a little unrealistic. And then all of a sudden they find themselves in college and they're not prepared and it's like short circuit. So I think really it's up to the parents and even the schools and, just hearing something that resonates, that says, wow, I could actually practice to win.
So does it get better when they're in college to go out of college and get a job? Or do you see the same thing over and over again?
I think that's useful because, again, it puts you in a different environment. And that's what I say. Explore a lot of different environments. Don't look at, say, oh, that's the A group, that's where I need to be. And I'm going to ignore all these other possibilities that may be quite wonderful, but it's not the A group. It's really learning to be a stand for yourself. And that's hard, Even adults throw themselves under the bus all the time, rather than be a stand for themselves. So again, that's where the family has to come in. That's where parents have to say, let's talk about this. Let's prepare you. Because although you may think it's going to be kind of, just more of the same but a little different, it's not.
Does it get better with age?
It depends on the person. Have you gotten better with age?
I hope so.
What was the thing that you would have liked somebody to have told you when you were going to college?
Yeah, I think it was definitely something where if someone was there to tell me what college was going to be about, because it really is, it's time management. It's figuring out on the downtime that you have. You go from high school where you have so many things going on, and then you go to college and you have a lot of free time on your hands, and that's where a lot of kids find where they go wrong is they have so much free time they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And that's why, again, routines are important. You have routines in your family life. You want to establish routines that are going to support you. So the routine of maybe going to the library, the routine of going to the coffee shop, the routine of joining a club that maybe appeals to you. And if it doesn't, leave. There are lots of other ones, Yeah. But there's no fixed way. Don't buy into you should belong here and you should belong there. Again, unless it's going to academically support you.
Yeah, that's the key in college is just that. It's just finding a way and always being positive with yourself. You profess that a lot.
Yes.
Is staying positive all the time.
Being gentle with yourself, And the fact is, you're not always going to be positive. Just recognize that there's a positive way to look at that. It's okay. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to feel challenged. It's called being a human being. And we keep pushing it away, and then we never deal with it.
Yeah.
And then we think, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm such a loser, And then we beat ourselves up. And
I hear you.
Yeah.
I understand. Well, we're coming to the end of the show.
So
usually what I ask my guests is, what advice do you want to give to the parents out there that their sons or daughters, 16, 17, 18 years old, they're transitioning from high school to college. What advice do you want to give those parents?
I would give them the same advice as the kids. Don't feel bad about feeling bad. Don't feel bad about, oh, I didn't teach them everything I should have. Oh my God, it's too late, or whatever it is. You know, as parents, as human beings, we're evolving. So it's like, start now, wherever it is. Start looking at and working with your kids, talking to them about transition, talking to them about, what are your fears? But also start, having them look out for, again, most adults aren't good time management people,
I agree.
So again, it's start practicing, have the college student practice being a college student, and you start practicing being the parent of a college student.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.